Hey everybody, it's 547, week number 5. Here I am on campus, Concordia University, Irvine. Or I'm using Zoom with a virtual background and recording to my computer. That was very funny in my head. Anyway, thought I would be on brand. This week, pretty straightforward. We don't have an assignment due, but I strongly encourage you strongly to continue working on your big project for week 8. As you recall, in the last 4 weeks of videos, waiting until week 8 to start your brain compatible unit will not lead to success. So make sure you're continuing to work on that. And I encourage you to look at how this week's discussion board posts connect with that brain compatible unit. So speaking of, there are 3 discussion board posts this week. That means a total of 3 initial posts with 3 references, and then 6 total replies. The discussion board posts have been fantastic. Just continue with that. I know it can sometimes feel a little bit forced, but then again, in-class discussions can sometimes feel forced as well. So this first discussion board post is looking at the difference between learning and retention. It's connected with your SUSE text. Yeah, so you're going to just jump into that, and it reminds me of, how talk about like what we learned in 8th grade, or so our school ends in 8th grade, and so hearing about like what our 8th graders are learning, have learned, what they're talking about, as though everybody knows it. Just like, dude, I have not heard that since 8th grade. I have no memory of what that is, or if it's like a math algorithm, like no idea how to solve that, despite having gone through calculus. Like I don't know this thing. And it's the whole idea of like, how much do we actually retain? And I would encourage you to think, and you can talk about this in a discussion board or not, but think about what that means for the need you may feel to cover the content for your grade level. Depending on the culture of your school or your district, the demands or the perceived needs to cover everything in the standards can be really big or sometimes quite small. But I think if you look at how much students actually retain, it might free you up to incorporate some of the other lessons, workflows, projects you've either been reading about through this course, other courses, perhaps that you learned at conferences or on social media. That actually connects with our third discussion board post, is looking at how we actually retrieve, right? So our brain needs something to recall a memory. It needs some sort of hook. And this is what I love about project-based learning and about more in-depth assignments. I have found that often if we just write something on the board, students copy it down on a paper, we do a worksheet together, we're doing like a document camera, and we're all doing kind of the same thing at the same time, reading a little bit, talking about a little bit. Like I can teach that lesson. Students will likely do just fine in that lesson, but ask them a month later, I don't know how much they're actually going to be able to retrieve. I don't know that they actually remember that stuff. And I think part of it is actually creating novel experiences for our students. So I think an interesting angle that connects with our first discussion board post to take around project-based learning isn't just like kind of the hands-on, the like real-world application, but actually looking at it through a brain research lens and thinking about creating those experiences for students as a way to remember, also as a way to be engaged, also as a way to have fun, also as a way to like get them all in on learning. But I would encourage you to think about how we do projects in terms of learning retrieval. Our second discussion board post looks at the primacy recency effect. Take a look at that. Consider, how you teach your lessons, how you spend the first 5 minutes of a class, how you spend the last 5 minutes with your students, because those tend to be the sweet spot. and I often spend a lot of it like classroom management. Even now when I jump in and work with some middle school students, it's like, all right, everybody here, who are we waiting for? Like, dude, that was my moment to actually teach a thing. Just jump right in immediately. Um, yeah, it's a good reminder. What else do we have this week? You have an article around digital dependence, which is quite fascinating. There have been a handful of other books that I've read um, around this idea of outsourcing our memories, that because we have these devices, we don't have to remember it. Do you remember your home phone number when you were a kid? Can you think of like one friend's phone number? I'm thinking of my old friend Ryan. I remember his phone number for sure. Uh, and then when we moved houses, still remember my neighbor John's phone number. Our neighbor across the street, fun fact, super easy to remember even without, you know, the whole idea of outsourcing memory is not applicable here. Our house addresses are one number off, and our phone numbers are one number off in the other direction. And both my parents and the adults across the street got their phone numbers at different houses. Right? That's incredible. Not the point of the article, but fun fact to share. So that's all we have for week number 5. It's a lighter week as far as big assignments go, but there are significantly more discussion board posts. Definitely make some progress in your brain compatible unit. Like, be sure and do that. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, I've been working with my team in ComCom, the Q Communications Committee. We're getting excited about Q Live. So if you are vaguely near Palm Springs, it's coming up in mid-March. It is March 17th, 18th, and 19th. There's going to be an in-person conference. There will be lots of discussion happening on social media, mostly, as my mom calls it, on the Twitters, using the hashtag SpringQ. Some people are still old school and will pick the hashtag Q22. And also, what I'm helping out with, if you were not there in person, is Q Live. So we're going to put together a lot of interviews, a handful pre-recorded with some of our keynotes, a handful of presenters, a handful of just people doing interesting things in the Q community, in the Q community. We're going to be interviewing both of our keynotes, Amanda Sandoval and Ken Shelton. If you do not know Ken Shelton, give him a follow. I have learned so much. He's going to be giving, hopefully, his keynote around Tequity, equity with technology. He's been talking about this for a long time, way before it was like the thing we're all talking about. So I'm very excited that he gets the main stage to share that. It's going to be really good. He also is a phenomenal photographer. And fun fact, is this our second fun fact? I think it is. If you look at him and you're like, where do I know him from? He is also a model. He did it semi-professionally, full-time in his early teaching career, and continues to model here and there. You may know him from LAX Terminal 1 on the wall next to the McDonald's. For 5 or 10 years, he was there laughing with someone, and it was clearly him and another child model, but people would be like, I saw you and your son. And he's like, not my kid. Yeah, but for a long time, Ken would welcome us at the Southwest Gate at LAX. But yeah, the stuff he shares is extraordinary. You don't want to miss it. So if you're able to join, if you're comfortable joining in person, sign up. I am tentatively planning on being there. I've learned not to make any definitive plans over the last 23 months. So we'll see. Might be just remote, hopping on the Twitters, recording people remotely the week or two ahead of time. Regardless, I will be having some great conversations on Q Live. I will be learning a lot from the Twitters. I will definitely be hearing from Ken. And Amanda Sandoval has also been a great member of the Q community for quite some time. So I don't know what her presentation is going to be about, but excited about those two keynote presenters. It's going to be good. So happy week 5. Reach out as you have any questions, and be safe, everybody.